The NFL has finally released the schedule for the upcoming 2023 season, so you know what that means. It's about time for us to give our predictions on each team's win-loss record. From the powerhouses to the underdogs, we'll analyze each team's situation to provide our insight. But we want to hear from you too, so make sure to comment down below your own record predictions. And who knows, maybe you're a fortune teller and we aren't. Anyway, sit back and relax as we jump right in. We're gonna do this by divisions, and starting with the AFC North, I have the Browns finishing with an 8-9 record. As you will see in my game-by-game predictions, which I am currently uploading as YouTube shorts for every team, I have them starting the season quite slow with just 3 wins in the first 11 weeks. However, I think Deshaun Watson will eventually start to return to his older self and lead this team to 5 wins in 7 weeks to ultimately get this record. Up next, Baltimore Ravens, 11-6. Seeing their schedule, anything between 10 and 14 wins makes sense to me, and honestly, I think I'm leaning towards the lower end here. I like this team all around, but I think they will lose some winnable games just as we've seen in the past with this team. Still, this record is enough to get into the playoffs. Then I have the Pittsburgh Steelers with a 12-5 record. Yeah, even though I have the Ravens ranked higher in my power rankings, the Steelers have a much easier schedule. God, I wouldn't even be surprised if they won 13 or 14 games. Pittsburgh had an amazing offseason, and remember, Kenny Pickett led this team from 2-6 all the way to a winning 9-8 record, so the future is bright. And sitting at the top of the division are Cincinnati Bengals with a 13-4 record. I have them losing in week 1 and then going all out. This team has the potential to win the Super Bowl next season, so even 13 wins may seem kinda low for some Cincy fans. But hey, remember, upsets can always happen. Moving on to the NFC South, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers get a 5-12 record. I honestly don't think they're that bad with Baker Mayfield at quarterback, but I feel like they won't be able to win the close games, which would have been a huge help for the fight in the division. Then the Carolina Panthers sit in 3rd place with a 6-11 record. I feel like with how the offseason went, this team could win between 4 and 11 games, and neither would be surprising. However, I'm basing this record on the thought that Bryce Young will take his sweet time to play to his full potential, which is why I predict most of their wins will come after their bye in week 7. Moving on are the Atlanta Falcons with an 8-9 record. I don't know why, but I actually think this is a solid team. Their offense will certainly carry them, but I feel like they will be able to win some of their close games and maybe pull an upset or two. And finally, the New Orleans Saints, also 8-9. They won 7 games last season, and I would dare say they improved. Their schedule isn't that complicated, and I think they will be one of those teams to win every game they're supposed to, but also lose everyone they're not as well. So yeah, I have the NFC South being won by a team with a losing record, whether it's Atlanta or New Orleans. But anyways, in the AFC West, we start with the Denver Broncos sitting at 4-13. After last season hype, I don't trust this team no more. I feel like they do have the potential to be a playoff team, but I'm going to take the risk and say they finish last in the West. That's not an easy division, and their schedule isn't doing them any favors either. Then come the Raiders with a 6-11 record. Okay, this is a tough one. Honestly, I think the Raiders are much better than a 6-win team, but that schedule is not an easy one. Even though I have them pulling some big upsets against Pittsburgh and Kansas City, I don't see them beating the Dolphins, Lions, Giants, Bills, etc. Up next, Los Angeles Chargers, 10-7. Once again, I think this team is way better than this record shows. However, I think they will have some bad luck and lose most of their close games, which would have most probably gotten them to 13-4 if they won all of those. Still, I think it's more likely that this team wins more than 10 games than it is that they fall below that. And at the top of the division come the Kansas City Chiefs with a 14-3 record. They are in prime position to have one of those seasons where nobody can stop them. I have them losing a divisional game, and the rest of the L's are pretty much from winnable games. I think they'll just fail at the end. But of course, 14-3 is the number 1 seed in this scenario. For the NFC North, we start with the Chicago Bears with a 7-10 record. They had a pretty good offseason, and assuming Justin Fields improves next year, I could see them winning anything between 5 and 9 games. Still, I don't think it will be enough to make the playoffs. Up next, Green Bay Packers with the same record of 7-10. I feel like they have the talent to try and get into the playoffs, but their schedule is no joke, and it's hard to tell how a team will do when it changes quarterback for the first time in over a decade and a half. Then Minnesota Vikings, 8-9. Honestly, this team has the talent to go 14-3, but their lack of a defense, coupled with a very complicated schedule, is a recipe for disaster. Counter-wise from last year, I think they'll end up losing most of their one-score games, resulting in the losing record. And at the top of the division, Detroit Lions, 11-6. They have one of the best offensive production in the league, and their offseason went quite well. However, I don't think they're as good as some people think, but I do have them winning the division in 2023. We now head over to the AFC East, starting with the Patriots at 8-9. After the Jets got Rodgers, New England got left as the worst team in the division by far. I think they'll start out the season slow, but then kind of get back on track to get close to a winning record. Moving on, New York Jets at 10-7. In a way, I feel like they're the 2023 version of last year's Broncos. Yeah, they got Aaron Rodgers, but he literally hasn't won a Super Bowl in over 10 years. So I don't know, I feel like this team is really good, but not top tier. Up next, Miami Dolphins, 12-5. When Tua was healthy, they were arguably a top 5 team last season. This defense is very explosive, so I think Miami will be fighting for the division crown till the end this upcoming season. And at the top, Buffalo Bills, 13-4. They are easily one of the top teams in the NFL, and as long as they keep playing like they've been doing, they'll get a good playoff spot. I have them losing a couple of divisional games, but overall, this is bound to be a good season for Buffalo. Moving over to the NFC East, Washington Commanders, 4-13. They are probably better than what this record shows, but they are easily the worst team in the division, and I feel like Sam Howell will have to go through some rough times before actually leading this team to success. New York Giants, 10-7. After last season, I expect them to get right back into the playoffs, even though their schedule isn't particularly easy. I have some faith in this team, but I don't want to get too optimistic. Up in second place, Dallas Cowboys with an 11-6 record. They have one of the best rosters in the NFL, but a lack of coaching talent coupled with a complicated schedule will have them fighting for second place instead of for the division title, which belongs to the Eagles with a 13-4 record. They could make a case as the best team all around in the NFL, so winning their division makes quite a lot of sense. However, any team is beatable, so I have them losing some winnable games but still getting the number 1 seed in the NFC. For the AFC South, we start with the Colts sitting at 4-13. They are just not that good. They have some good skill players, but I think Richardson is still pretty raw, so whoever starts at quarterback won't lead this team anywhere near the playoffs. Then Tennessee Titans, 5-12. I know most people will have them winning a couple more games, and I mean no hate, but I don't see them being very good next season. I really hope they prove me wrong because I think rough times are ahead for them, so buckle up. In second place, I have Houston with a 6-11 record. They had a top 5 of season easily, and for me, CJ Stroud was the most NFL ready quarterback of the draft. I think they'll start the season out slow, but then get everything together to manage 6 wins. Moving on, Jacksonville Jaguars, 11-6. They play in arguably the easiest division of them all, so I have them going 4-2 in divisional games. The rest of the schedule isn't that easy, but I have them winning the AFC South without any major issue. And then for the NFC West, we start with the Cardinals sitting at 2-15. I do feel bad for this, but I just don't see them winning against pretty much anyone. They could prove me wrong, but they don't have the weapons and coaching needed to be a good team. So embrace the tank and let's get Caleb Williams. Up next are the Rams, 4-13. I have some hope for this team, and they'll probably exceed expectations considering how many players are coming back. However, it's hard to imagine this team going back to Super Bowl form anytime soon. Then come the Seahawks with an 8-9 record. I think they are 100% better than this record, but honestly, I would dare to say they have one of the hardest schedules in the NFL. Somehow in these predictions, 8-9 is good enough for the 7th seed in the NFC. So hey, even though it ain't a winning record, they're back to the playoffs. And at number 1, sit the San Francisco 49ers with a 13-4 record. I have them losing to the Steelers, Bengals, Eagles, and Seahawks, all of which are definitely winnable games. I think they'll slightly regress from last year due to the quarterback situation, but they're still a top tier team easily. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. Here's another one if you wanna keep watching. See you then.